empresa. Entonces, hay que tener cuidado por ese lado que si tú quieres disolver o quieres deshacerte de un negocio, salirte, extraerte de una empresa, pues hacerlo de la forma correcta para que después no vengan 2, 3 años después a cobrarte multas, a cobrar intereses, a cobrar impuestos adicionales. Y eso requiere también ayuda, lamentablemente, si la quieres pensar así, pero ayuda de una persona con conocimientos.
Con conocimiento y con experiencia como nuestro abogado John Mitchell. Pues John, queremos agradecerte por habernos acompañado el día de hoy. Nosotros vamos cerrando. Recuerden que si usted tiene temas puntuales sobre sus compañías, cómo abrir compañías, cómo cerrar compañías, cómo solucionar problemas con el IRS, aquí está nuestro abogado John Mitchell, que él les va a dar toda la información, les va a echar la mano y les va a ayudar a solucionar los
All right, what's up, everybody? This is Real Estate Insights. I'm your host, Andrew Glisson. On today's show, we're going to introduce you guys to two new guests on the show that you're going to want to hear from. One owns and operates a huge, inventory of short-term rentals in South Padre Island. We have another guest on the show that has bootstrapped her own real estate investment portfolio and has scaled from 0 investment properties to 8, which is what a lot of you guys, want to do. We hear from people on the show all the time. I want to invest in real estate. How do I do it? Well, stay tuned. And then we have David Aronson back on the show, who's going to talk about electric vehicle charging stations. They build them into multifamily apartment complexes all over the country. So you guys are going to want to hear some updates from him. We're in a new studio. We built out a brand new studio. We've got 2, one in Houston, one in Memphis. I'm in Memphis today filming. We're going to add some lights, so we're still kind of working out a couple of the kinks here, but we appreciate you guys, tuning in and watching the show. Before we start interviewing some of our guests, I wanted to jump in and talk about a topic that is really starting to bubble to the top of a lot of boardroom conversations. And for mom and pop investors, like me, we own 178 single family rentals. And so insurance is the topic that I want to talk to you guys a little bit about today. It is one of the top 3 line items, and it has become one of the top 3 line items on our P&L. So from an insurance perspective, you guys, if you invest in real estate, are buying property insurance and you're buying general liability insurance. Property insurance has gotten insanely expensive. And the reason why is because there are more natural disasters that are occurring around the world than have in years past. They're more expensive because people are moving to areas that are more prone to natural disasters. So wildfires, there's more development in wildfire zones. Hurricanes, there's more development in hurricane zones, flood zones. People are building houses and structures where there are prone to have natural disasters. So what happens is that when those natural disasters occur, those wildfires, those hurricanes, those floods, what happens is that insurance companies have to pay for that. And insurance companies are global in nature. So insurance companies from all over the world are insuring risks in America, and they're insuring risks all over the world. And as these natural disasters happen, it impacts them. It impacts everybody. So no matter where the insurance company is domiciled, if they're paying claims across the planet or even in the United States, it's going to impact you and your premiums. So you guys have watched your premiums go up year in and year out. And a lot of you guys are getting premium increases year in and year out, 10, 15, 20%. You're saying this is unsustainable. I mean, I'm reading stories all the time in Twitter and different places where I follow a lot of real estate from a multifamily and single family perspective that it's become completely uninsurable. Interest rates are up, 200-300%. What used to cost $1,000 is now $10,000 to insure somebody's house. So I wanted to chat with you guys just real quick in this opening segment here about some solutions to the insurance problem. And what we're doing in our portfolio to try to alleviate some of the pressure that we're seeing in insurance rates. And I'm going to kick off and start talking about property first. I've got some comments on general liability that I'll get to in just a second. From a property perspective, obviously, what you guys will hear from a lot of people are you can increase your deductible. And that is true. If you will share in some of the risk, then you will be able to reduce your premiums by a certain by a margin. So some of you guys that haven't looked at your deductible in a while, if you've got a $500 deductible, $1,000 deductible, $2,500, you may want to consider self-insuring up to the first 5, up to the first 10, and seeing how that impacts your premium. If you're willing to absorb some of that initial, shock, then the insurance company is going to treat you a little bit more favorable when it comes to the rate increase. So some of the things that happen to a rental property are your appliances can get stolen. So somebody breaks into the property, steals appliances, a tree could fall on your property. God forbid any of these things happen, it could catch on fire. I mean, there's a lot of different things that can impact the actual structure of your property, or from a theft perspective, your property can disappear. So what I would kind of consider if I were you guys is that if you do see a lot of small claims, so you've got something that's $1,000, $1,500, it's well within your deductible. If you can afford it, you're going to want to avoid having the insurance carrier pay for some of those small claims, because you don't want to have frequency on your loss history. So as the year progresses and you do have losses and you turn those losses into the insurance carrier, you're developing a loss history, and that loss history follows you. And so you look more favorable to underwriters who ultimately are placing the risk and accepting the risk for your real estate. You want to look like you haven't incurred as many losses. And if you are following every single claim that happens, then they're going to see a large loss history. And that's what we want to avoid. And so one of the ways to do that is to raise the deductible, because you're not going to be turning in some of those smaller claims. So one of the things that we want to do is try to raise our deductible. The second thing that we want to try to do is to not file as many claims just because it's within the deductible. Maybe we don't want to file that. Maybe we want to self-insure some of those things so our loss history doesn't go up. The third thing that you need to do is you need to shop your insurance. So some of you are very loyal to your insurance broker, and that's a very good thing. But you need to have a team that will look under the hood for you and help you identify ways to cut costs. It's super important right now. Again, insurance is one of the top 3 items on our P&L right now. And so we've had to find alternatives to all of the expense that we were incurring on insurance premiums. I have a course called SFR University where I teach investors on how to scale their real estate portfolio. We've actually come out with an insurance product that you guys can look at. It's sfruniversity.com/insurance. And we can tell you all about the ways that we shop insurance coverage for investors. And we will show you exactly how we can save you money from an insurance program perspective. It's helped. Our portfolio is in this program. I used to be in the insurance business before I turned myself into a full-time real estate investor. And so I helped, build this program. And it is something that has really helped us curb our insurance premiums. We look at every insurance carrier that can insure real estate portfolios, and we try to find the absolute most efficient program that's out there. The other thing that we can do for you on this program specifically is that a lot of you guys are with, some of the companies that you see on TV that have commercials, during the Super Bowl and things like that. I'm not going to name any names, but you're getting an individual policy for every single property that you own. And there's a more efficient way of doing that. So what we did and what we learned a long time ago was that instead of buying individual policies for all of our different houses, we're not really getting any sort of economies of scale. We're not getting any sort of, really kind of group discount and leverage with insurance carriers. And so what our program helps you do is leverage all of your properties and all of our properties. So you can go to an insurance carrier and say, look, I've got 10 properties or I've got 100 properties on one policy. And that is powerful when you are negotiating insurance premiums, because an insurance carrier, the carriers that we are going to introduce you to, would rather insure 100 properties on one policy or 10 properties on one policy than one house per individual policy. It's also going to save you guys on the administrative burden of having to renew an insurance policy, over and over and over again and keep up with all that. So you get efficiency, you get economies of scale, and there's power in grouping your insurance, all of your properties into one insurance policy. Let me talk about general liability for a minute. So general liability is obviously on the property side is when something happens to the structure of your property that you need to rebuild. General liability is when you cause bodily injury or property damage to somebody else. That is not being impacted as much on the pricing side. So general liability has not seen the increase in rates like property has. So we haven't focused as much on general liability. Obviously, it's good to have, but the property side is really where we focus because the property insurance premiums have gone up and skyrocketed so dramatically. One of the other things that you can consider on insurance is that if you require your renters to buy renter's insurance, there are ways that you can file claims if it's a flood internally inside the house, there's a fitting that breaks, there is something that happens that could be, tenant caused damage. Don't file that against your property insurance policy. File that against your renter's insurance. I'll give you an example. We had a resident that moved out 7 days early. They were scheduled to move out. They moved out 7 days early. We had a large freeze that happened across the region where it plunged us into, ultra low, ultra cold temperatures, and one of their pipes burst while they were gone. They moved out. They had a couch there. They had a bed there. They still had a few things to get, but they didn't tell us that they had moved out early, which is fine. But they also didn't, turn the water off to the house. They didn't drip the pipe. So the pipe burst and flooded the unit. Well, I could have easily turned that into my insurance program and made a claim on my insurance program. It was about a $10,000 loss. But what we did instead was we filed that claim against renter's insurance because the tenant didn't exercise due care to take care of that property while it was still in their possession. They still had a lease on it. They were still responsible for it. So we exercised our right to file a claim against the renter's insurance, which ultimately paid the claim and saved our property policy from having to absorb that loss. Again, we're trying not to file claims as much as we can help it on our regular main insurance policy because that's one of the ways that insurance premiums go up is when it has activity on that policy. So we filed it against the renter's insurance policy. So consider that. That's another way to alleviate the burden of having claims experience go against your property policy because that's what's impacting premium so much. So again, wanted to have a real quick conversation with you guys on insurance premiums. One of the things that we do on this show is we try to introduce you guys to people who are going to help you in the business, help you get into the business, help you get started in the business, introduce you to concepts and ways to save money and make money you may not have thought about. That and insurance is one of those things that a lot of people, their eyes glaze over when they start talking about insurance, but it's a massively expensive cost right now. And it's something that you have to examine so you can, keep profitability in your rental property portfolio. So if we can help you, let us know, sfruniversity.com/insurance. So with that, we're going to take a quick commercial break and we're going to come right back and introduce you to our first guest, and we'll see you in just a minute.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Do you have a car sitting around you want to get rid of? Well, here's a great idea. Donate your car now to help local veterans in your area. Yes, just make one fast call to the Veteran Car Donation Program. Within a few days, we'll come and remove your car for free. You can donate any car in any condition. We'll use our vast network to sell it. The proceeds raised go to help local veterans and their families. And you get a tax deduction. And all you need to do is make this free call. Clean your yard up, get rid of an old car, and help the vets. We make it easy. Make this free call now. Book your fast and easy pickup. Call the Veteran Car Donation Program now.
Are you nearly maxed out on your credit cards? It doesn't matter if you're using your credit cards for fun or to survive. At the end of the month, your statements come in, and you can either pay them or you can't. If you can't, late fees and interest rates get tacked on. And now you're struggling just to make the minimum payment due. Do you feel trapped? Am I talking to you? Good, because I personally researched some companies that can help you. They may be able to reduce your credit card balances by 50% and stop the late fees. If you qualify, please call our special debt hotline number right now for a complimentary free 5-minute consultation. Deal with your credit card problem now before it gets much worse and put more money back in your pocket. Trust me, I've been there too. Call right now.
Call 855-993-2096 right now. That's 855-993-2096.
All right, everybody, joining me on the show, first-time guest, is Griselda Abuzleman. And Griselda, welcome to the show. We're glad to have you on. And, I like to introduce the viewers of the show when we have a first-time guest on. Always just kind of go personal, introduce yourself, and kind of tell folks what you're doing and how you're connected to the real estate business. So to kind of tee it up for you, Griselda is a short-term rental expert. They have a big portfolio in the South Padre Island area of Texas. And so, Griselda, how did you get, into short-term rentals? Tell us about kind of the story on how you got into real estate and short-term rentals to begin with.
Sure, absolutely. So at least in that space, we've been in the real estate business for many, many years, probably about 17 years. So we've developed properties along the way. But short-term rentals specifically, honestly, it was because there was a big draw in southern Texas. SpaceX was moving in, and there was a lot of hype about the rocket launches and all that was going on down there. And the beach, South Padre Island, is just a hot place to be in, right?
Yep.
For spring break, for the summer. And so we bought property there. We bought several properties and just launched our first one, and it's doing amazing. So that's how we got into the short-term rental business. Before that, we also had a house on the lake. So as you well know, Andrew, it's all about the location. And
Yep.
Those coastal locations are really attractive locations for short-term rentals.
100%. So are there any kind of, rules, regulations, laws that govern short-term rentals there? Do you have to register those things? Can they have a certain number of bedrooms? What's the, legislation like, or the regulation, I guess?
So there's definitely regulations that you have to register it. You need to make sure that the city is aware of, the commercial property that you have, guests, tenants coming in and out. But in terms of, restrictions or how many rooms or what you need to do, very, very flexible, at least in that area, right? So what I found is that there's a lot of flexibility. Florida is the same thing, but North Carolina, Florida, Texas, where we have our properties for the most part, it's up to the owner, right? It's up to what the demand is, what the guests want, and you just provide that. So there's no real hard set regulations on thou shall have, X, Y, Z. It's up to the owner to really provide what's going to be attractive for the guests, so that obviously you have a very high occupancy rate.
Right. So obviously spring break, it must have been super
Yes.
busy for you guys during the spring break time. Is that by far and away, is that the busiest time for South Padre?
Absolutely, by far. And so you said you were in Houston, Texas for some time. South Padre Island is a hot place to be for spring break. So we're just coming out to the end of that. It's still trickling in. But throughout the state of Texas, the universities have spring break during different weeks. And so the entire month of March trickles into April and really into May. It's a really hot time for renting in South Padre. There's a lot of activities, there's festivals, there's events, and it's just beautiful, awesome weather. And then actually just recently, we also had some rocket launches. So people can see, from the second or third floor balcony, huge starship going on, making
That's
huge sound
amazing.
waves in the sky.
That's amazing. That must be fun to watch. I'd like to see that sometime.
Oh my God, you have to make your way out there. It is
For sure.
amazing. Not only the huge, heavy rocket that's going up in the air with all that fire and everything, but the sound that
Yeah,
travels from that whole area resonates the entire beach. Seems like the
that's
waves
cool.
are happening. So it's a really cool place to be. And that's
That's
really
really
why we
cool.
bought in that area because it was
That's
a fun place.
Yeah. So you mentioned you were in real estate before, you invested in South Padre. What was the catalyst? What was your former real estate in a former life?
Yeah, honestly, real estate investment is where we live or where we move to is where we buy property.
I
So
gotcha.
that's how we've been investing, and I'm sure, others do the same. But, we lived in Albuquerque, New Mexico for many, many years. My husband is from Albuquerque, New Mexico. So that's where the business really got started. And so you buy residential properties, commercial properties, and before you know it, you're managing several of them at a time. So
Yeah.
started there, then business work, jobs. We're both engineers. That took us over to Charlotte, North Carolina. And so we
Hmm.
bought property around Lake Norman area, which is also a really hot place around the Trump National Golf Course. So that's where
Hmm.
we had additional property. And then we just invest. I'm from Texas. So obviously, I bought property close to my home base, which is in South Padre Island, and then here
Yeah.
in Florida. So really, it's a matter of where you are. You look at the places, the locations, whether it's convention centers that are in proximity, coastal areas that are in proximity, or the lake and all the recreation that goes on the lake.
Yeah.
But that's where we buy, that's where we invest, and it's done very, very well for us.
So it sounds like you're focused on areas that have, some sort of a tourism draw or something to do, right? You're not in the middle of
Yes.
nowhere. You're by a lake or by a body of water, the ocean.
Yeah.
People are enjoying a golf course. Tell us about the real estate advisory services. What is that keeping you busy? What are you doing on that side of the business?
So on advisory services, I mean, basically you do your market research, you do your analytics, and you make sure that you're in compliance with all that has to happen. You look at what is happening within the area, and then you get in touch with those advisory groups and you talk about convention centers, about tournaments that are happening for sports, or you go through and talk about festivals and events that are happening. What I find, Andrew, is that people really like to experience the culture of where they're
Yeah.
going. So they want to make sure that they, blend with the locals, that they're going to those coffee shops, restaurants, or activities. And so you keep in touch with what's in the area, what's in the know from the advisory groups, even from the Chamber of Commerce, just to make
Yeah.
sure that you hype that up, right? Like SpaceX is a huge draw for us. And we're talking like, hey, when's the next rocket launch? And so we're
Yeah.
Googling way to see when that's going to happen so we can let our people know, hey, have a glass of wine on the
Yeah.
second or third floor balcony, and you can experience an amazing launch. So it's really important to keep in
So
touch
cool.
with the advisory groups to let you know what's happening so you can hype up your location.
Yeah. And then from a coaching perspective, are you coaching other aspiring investors to get into real estate?
Yes. So I'm an engineer. I was 29 years in corporate America as an industrial engineer. And so I've established quite a few networks and friends that are in
I
that
bet.
same space. So now, whether it's coaching them in leadership in terms of how to thrive in a male dominated environment, there's not many Hispanic females in engineering world. And so sometimes you're the only person in the boardroom. And some people need guidance with that, right? Obviously, it took me a lot of coaching and mentoring and guidance from others
Yeah.
to make sure that I was thriving in that space and that I knew my stuff. And obviously, when you do, you're valued and you get more project assignments and you're very global. I've been to
Yeah.
26 different countries doing what I do. So now,
That's amazing.
yeah, my passion is to help others along that same path, right? I've
Yeah.
learned so much, I've done a lot, but I want to make sure that now that I've turned into an entrepreneur and turned in my corporate badge, that I'm helping other women do the same and men as well. But just thriving in what things they think they find challenging and just simplifying it for them. Just
Right.
letting them know you do belong in that space, you have something to contribute, and you can thrive. So that's really what my coaching is about. I focus on
Yeah.
women in STEM, but other areas as well. Just make sure that people know what to do as they're navigating through the boardroom.
That's amazing. I mean, it's part coach, part motivator, right? Motivational tips to help people along the way. Tell them anybody can do that. How do people find you in your coaching practice?
So great question. So social media is huge, as you well know. So that is one, right? So obviously making sure that my LinkedIn profile, because I'm a business
Yeah.
advisor and a leadership coach. So
There you go on the screen
primarily,
now.
Yeah, there you go. So primarily social media, LinkedIn is huge for me because from the executive leadership or the business advising side, that's where the clients are. But another one is my website. So you're showing the website. And so it's important to connect to establish those relationships. And then as we're traveling the world, making sure that you're connecting people and that you're helping others along the way. So that is
Love
what
it.
I do. I go consulting, coaching, speaking, and my passion is to help others grow. So if I'm helping people grow their business, 2 to 3 times X revenue is one of the projects that I'm working on right now, or helping people grow in their personal development. That's what I love doing. Gosh, I could do that 24/7.
Well, you have a lot of energy that you're devoting to it, and I have no doubt you're super successful at it. Give us in the last 90 seconds we have, though, I've got to cut to a break. Give us, kind of some insight on what do you think, the rest of the year is going to look like, pivoting back to real estate for a minute, the short-term rental space. Do you see any headwinds in that world, or do you think it's all, it's all gravy, the sky's the limit, and there's nothing but tailwind?
Yeah. So definitely see some upside simply because in some areas, markets are hot and thriving, right? That's one thing that I see. Now, obviously, there's interest rates that are piking up a little bit. So a lot more people entrance into the real estate short-term market. But I do find that if you differentiate yourself and you provide those unique experiences, whether it's a welcoming packet or something like a fruit basket, whatever you do to make it personal and authentic really helps. But absolutely, are there some headwinds? Sure, a lot more entrants in the space, right? So you really have to be watching for what your pricing is to make sure that you're not left out and you have high occupancy rates. So interest rates are definitely something to look at all times. But I think at least in the space that we've selected, for my husband and I personally, it's going to be a thriving environment. SpaceX is there. LNG is growing. Huge, huge business. A lot of people coming into the South Padre Island, South Texas area. And honestly, real estate can't keep up with all of the growth that is happening down there. So it's an exciting time for business, hot market, and definitely some upside that I see between now and the end of the year.
Love it. Well, Griselda, thanks for coming on the show. Really appreciate you joining us. It sounds like the studio's already got you booked to come back, which and we'll look forward to that visit. So until next time, I hope you have a great week. And everybody, we're going to have a quick break, and I'll see you in just a second.
Perfect. Thanks. Bye, Andrew.
Bye.
Are you ready to shake up the world of health with me? Welcome to Disruptive Health, where we are flipping the script on traditional wellness. I'm Dr. Denise Brown, and on this show, we are diving deep into the latest trends and breakthroughs in health and wellness. Whether you're curious about nutrition, exploring new therapies, or just want to live your best life, Disruptive Health is your guide. Don't miss Disruptive Health, coming soon to Now Media TV.
What if this happened to you when you're alone? Or what if it happened here? With MedGuard Alert, you're never alone. You can connect with medical professionals anywhere, anytime. And now MedGuard is introducing our exclusive new Care Watch. If you need help quickly, use it from anywhere to contact medical professionals. No cell phone required. The Care Watch is not only a life-saving medical alert device, it's a revolutionary health monitoring system that checks your blood pressure, heart rate, oxygen saturation, and much more. And here's the best part. If you have Medicaid, you may qualify to get your Care Watch for free. The Care Watch is only available through MedGuard Alert. Call us right now. We have monitoring programs starting as low as $1 a day. The call is free, activation is free, shipping is free, and no contract is required. Remember, with Medicaid, you may qualify to get your Care Watch for free. Don't wait. Call us to get your Care Watch right now. Operators are standing by.
Have you ever had to hire multiple contractors? It is a daunting task that takes a lot of management time and impacts the core business or the company, the time you spend with your loved ones. At Texas Home Property Solutions, you can count on a responsible company that can tackle all your general contractor needs. Electricity, painting, remodeling, plumbing, air conditioning, and roofing. Hire us and forget it. With over 20 years of experience, Texas Home Property Solution will deliver your project on time and within budget, with the high level of quality and integrity, no matter the size or complexity. If you are a company, a government institution, or an individual who needs a general contractor, you need Texas Home Property Solution. Take a decisive step and call us today for a free consultation.
All right, we've got David Aronson back on the show, and David is the founder and CEO of a company called REVS, which means Refuel Electric Vehicle Solutions. And so, David, it sounds like things are still going kind of turbocharged on your end, installing these electric vehicle charging stations, basically in multifamily apartment complexes around the country. If you guys haven't seen David on the show before, so the year's going pretty well for you guys. Sounds like, David.
Yes, we've gotten off to a great start, Andrew. We got a lot of tailwinds helping us out, and we're very excited about having a great year this year.
So you guys have a solution that there's a lot of stress in the multifamily world where the interest rates have gone up. It's made a lot of deals somewhat unprofitable for apartment complex owners. And so there are some people, that are in the ownership world out there that are looking at, additional projects saying we don't have any capital to do anything. But you guys have a solution around that. Tell us about, the zero cost installation model that you guys are doing for, these apartment owners.
So that's right, Andrew. Budgets are as tight as I've ever seen them. Insurance rates have gone up, property taxes are high, inflation has pushed everything up. So the budgets are very tight, and apartment owners have now come to the realization that they do need to provide EV charging services to their residents, but they do not have the capital in their budgets to provide for that. So what REVS does is we'll come in, we will put all the infrastructure in, and as well as put up the charging stations and manage the charging stations at no cost to the property owner. The property owner also receives a reimbursement of any electricity that we use, as well as a share of the profit. The only thing we ask is that we get to sign a lease for 12 years or longer to provide these EV services to their residents. So we're finding more and more apartment owners are excited to welcome us into their properties.
That sounds like an absolute no-brainer. So are you guys, are there multiple ways to do this? They can buy the equipment outright, pay for you for the installation, take all the profits, or what are the different strategies in addition to the zero cost strategy?
Yeah, a lot of different companies have different models, but generally the one is that the property will pay to upgrade their property, which is called the make ready, and then they'll pay to own and operate the charging stations. I haven't found a single property owner or manager that says they like dealing with the ongoing management of those charging stations. No. Just don't have time, and they don't have the knowledge to know how to do it. So they're looking for solutions to get it off of their plate onto somebody else's. It's one of the things that REVS does very well.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, we are a single family rental operator. We don't manufacture our own lock boxes. We don't manufacture, a lot of the things that we use. If I could lease it, I'm happy to do that. Let somebody else bear the installation and the ongoing, kind of management of it. So that makes a lot of sense to me. As you guys are,
Andrew, let me just add, it's not a lot different than washers and dryers. When people built the apartments years ago, they had laundromats, and none of the property owners wanted to deal with the day-to-day hassles of the washers and dryers breaking. So they brought in a third-party company who would own and operate them and take care of all that.
That
So
makes
it's the same,
perfect sense.
we're doing the same thing.
That makes perfect sense. And EVs are also getting a lot less expensive. So it's one of the least expensive alternatives on the market right now. So where a lot of people say that, look, EVs are, kind of a flash in the pan, it's actually getting more economical to buy those things.
Absolutely. We've seen a lot of press about how sales are down and they're not keeping up and all that, but it's just going to take time. Nothing goes up in a straight line, okay? And it's going to take time, but the reality of electric vehicles is they're convenient.
Yep.
And we've moved to a society of convenience, and almost everything we do, it's focused on convenience for the consumer. And
Yep.
EVs are more convenient. The batteries will make them cheaper to produce, and actually probably quicker to produce than a gas combustion vehicle. So, but it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to happen over time.
Do you see the charging, getting faster over time? A lot of the rub on electric vehicles is that it takes 30 minutes to charge a car. Is that sort of going to speed up as the technology improves?
So there's a couple things happening. Of course, the batteries are getting bigger and less expensive. So when the electric vehicle transition started a number of years ago, most batteries only had the capacity of 50 or 60 kilowatts. And you had a charger that provided 7 kilowatts an hour, and so you could fill that pretty quickly. But as the batteries have gotten bigger, like Ford Lightning now can take 125 kilowatts. If you put a battery on that provided 7 kilowatts an hour, it's going to take you 10 to 15 hours to get a good charge on that. The chargers have gotten stronger, and the fastest level 2 charger can now go up to 19.2 kilowatts an hour if the car will allow it to take that much energy. But if you need 125 kilowatts to fill your truck up, 19 is going to fill it up quicker than 7.
Yep. So it is getting faster over time.
It is getting faster, yeah.
But do you see in apartment complexes, the application that you guys are working on, do they need faster chargers, or do they need slower chargers at apartment installations?
Well, the thing we like about the apartment complexes is we put level 2 chargers in, and those chargers will provide anywhere from 15 to 70 miles an hour of charging capacity, depending on your vehicle. Every vehicle is different, but we don't put level 3 chargers in apartments for several reasons. First off, the apartments don't have enough electricity to handle a level 3 charger, and it would push our cost up 10x as to what we're spending. On the other side of the equation is, if you can get 15 to 70 miles a night charging, you can get all your charging needs done when the car's sitting there at night.
Yep.
So that's really what happens. That's what people are looking for. If you live in a house, you come home, you plug in, you get your 60, 50, 40 kilowatts, and you wake up in the morning and you're ready to go. It's pretty convenient.
Is there some sort of a rule of thumb for every 100 parking spots an apartment complex has, you need 2 chargers? Is there what do you guys use?
So generally we'll start off with putting up 2 charging ports in a property, sometimes 2 to 4. We think 1 charging port can handle about 7 to 8 cars per month. Okay. And that means that charger is being used every single night. Usually not even being used during the daytime. So it's every single night that the car is getting used. So it can serve 7 to 8 cars a month. So most properties that we see can, have 1 to 2% adoption rates at this point in time. So that's a couple cars. It's not very many cars, and that's going to grow over time.
Yeah. And what about certain regions of the country? I mean, you guys benefit from being all over the place, and you might be in all 50 states right now, but where is the adoption the highest for electric vehicles and for apartment owners around the country?
Well, California is ahead of everybody.
Yeah.
Okay. And so it's definitely highest in California. Interestingly, California also has a lot of rules and regulations, as you would expect.
I bet.
And one of the challenges that the EV charging industry has in California is they require you to put up too many charging ports before the demand is available. And so that is a big challenge for newly constructed properties in California. For existing properties, none of them have enough electricity to meet the future demand. So it's really an interesting phenomenon going on.
David, I got about 90 seconds left. I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. Is there anything that's surprised you or stood out since you got into this business and started doing this? What's one thing that's kind of surprised you that you didn't expect?
I would say, with regards to the charging business, I had thought we'd have a lot more ports up by now. I had thought that the apartment owners would have gravitated to it quicker than they have.
Gotcha.
They're starting to, but we still see apartments that have been developed with nobody putting in EV charging infrastructure. So
crazy.
We thought it'd be faster.
Yeah. Well, David, thanks for coming on. These conversations that we have always go so quick. And just so you guys know, the viewers out there, always veer off topic. We get topics cleared by our guests a lot of times before we go on air. And then Andrew Glisson decides, I want to ask about different things because this is a topic that interests me. So sorry about that, David, but you're always great. I know I can throw anything your way and you're going to just field it easily. So always great to have you on.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me, Andrew.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Be right back.
Are you drowning in a sea of medical records, spending countless hours in the documentation? Picture this, a cutting-edge AI-powered tool designed specifically for the healthcare industry that streamlines your workflow, reducing time and effort spent on tedious medical record research. Introducing DataDive, your lifesaver in medical record review. Say goodbye to manual data extraction and hello to efficiency. Our advanced artificial intelligence delves into vast medical databases, swiftly extracting relevant information so you can focus on what truly matters, patient care. Imagine having a virtual assistant at your fingertips, tirelessly working to compile comprehensive medical histories, treatment plans, and diagnostic reports. DataDive not only saves you time, but ensures accuracy and completeness in your documentation. DataDive adapts to your unique needs, learning from your preferences, constantly improving its performance. It's like having a dedicated research partner that evolves with you. The future of healthcare is here. Artificial intelligence meets medical expertise. Partner with DataDive and embrace a world where your valuable time is spent caring for patients, not drowning in paperwork. Your patients deserve it.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
Do you have a car sitting around you want to get rid of? Well, here's a great idea. Donate your car now to help local veterans in your area. Yes, just make one fast call to the Veteran Car Donation Program. Within a few days, we'll come and remove your car for free. You can donate any car in any condition. We'll use our vast network to sell it. The proceeds raised go to help local veterans and their families. And you get a tax deduction. And all you need to do is make this free call. Clean your yard up, get rid of an old car, and help the vets. We make it easy. Make this free call now. Book your fast and easy pickup. Call the Veteran Car Donation Program now.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the show. I'm excited to have a new guest on, Casey Franchini. She lives in Memphis and is a real estate investor. And one of the things, Casey, welcome to the show. I've been following you on Instagram for a long time. Sent a note, out of the blue to come join the show because I think what you offer and what you've done is really cool, building a portfolio, but also, helping aspiring investors get into the business. So, Casey, just out of curiosity, how did you get into the real estate business to begin with?
It all started back when I was young. My dad always told me to follow the other crowd. He said, Casey, do you see the freeway? Do you see the traffic? I lived in Southern California. I said, yes, I see the traffic. He said, you don't want to follow the herd and go that way. You have to make your own way and do things differently. So I said, okay. He said, that means no 9 to 5, Casey. And
wow.
he was a semi-failed entrepreneur. He didn't do the best, but he still knew that was the path. So I worked my hardest in trying to do things a little bit differently. And I knew real estate investing was definitely going to be the key to wealth.
Yep. So did you read books to kind of figure out where you really wanted to spend your time or what you wanted to invest in or do? Like, how did real estate become the thing to do for you?
So after college, my mom was a nurse. So she said, you need the 9 to 5. So I had different people on my shoulders.
Yeah.
Get a job, don't get a job, make your own job. So after college, I did get a quote real job and it lasted all of 3 months. It was terrible. I hated it. Grueling, driving an hour and a half in the dark in traffic there and back. I said no. So I decided I was going to be a real estate agent. I knew I was going to be a mother one day and I wanted flexibility. And to me, this is before I knew I wanted to really invest. My dad was always nagging at me, but I knew investing in the future, but not right away. You need money to invest, and I had no money. So I got my real estate broker license, and I started helping investors find flips in Southern California. Nice. And so I started on that route. And then when we moved to Memphis, I said, okay, Blake, my husband, this is the gold mine. We are going to buy all the houses on the block.
Yeah.
And then when you see some of the houses that are in Memphis, you change your mind and you realize you really just want high quality properties. So we started buying long-term rentals just one at a time, the old-fashioned way.
So you must have, like, coming from Southern California to Memphis, the price difference is pretty big. So you could probably sell one house in California and buy 10 here, right?
Yes. Now, unfortunately, when we lived in Southern California, we were renting. We were young and we could not afford the $500,000 homes. And that was what a starter home was back then in the early 2000s. They were expensive. So we came and bought our first property ever when we lived in Memphis, and it was our primary.
So how did you find it? What was the thing it was your primary home. So you converted your primary home into an investment property.
No, we're still here today, 11 years later.
I got you.
So we bought our primary home and then we started buying rentals. But we did buy this house out of state. So we were in California when we bought this house. I flew out 6 months pregnant. We looked at 40 houses in 2 days, 20 in the Memphis area, 20 in the northern Mississippi area, made 5 offers, got 1. And when we bought it, my husband said, I don't even remember what house it was that we just bought.
That is hilarious. So how long had you been in town when you bought your first investment property?
We were here 3 years. So we moved to Memphis with a 3-week-old and a 2-year-old, and we had no money to start investing. We bought a fixer-upper. The dream was I was going to be a stay-at-home mom, and I wanted a pool. So, my husband took me from my family, and this is what I was going to get instead, stay-at-home mom, but it wasn't all it was cracked up to be. I knew that I needed more fulfillment in my life.
And I knew that I wasn't just going to be okay being a stay-at-home mom. Nothing wrong with that, but I knew that I was meant for more. So that's when my dad's words kept pushing in my ear, Casey, buy investment properties. So I started an Etsy shop, and within a year and a half, I had saved up $20,000, and we used that for the down payment on our first rental property 3 years after we moved to Memphis.
That's awesome. What a story. So what on Etsy did you what was in your shop? What were you selling on Etsy?
Yeah, so I can't even draw a stick figure. Okay. So I had to be creative, and how could I make something that people wanted to pay money for? So I bought a Cricut, I bought a die cutting machine, and I would make like bridesmaid hangers. I would make bridesmaid shirts. I would make for Easter, I would get vinyl and I would put kids' names on little Easter bunnies and sell them for $5 to $7 on Etsy, porch pickup, local resale, Facebook pages. Just a bunch of personalized items. So I didn't have to create the item. I just bought the item as a blank and made it personalized.
That's awesome, man. So the Etsy shop into your first investment property, but you've scaled past that now, right? You've got, how many do you have now? How many do you operate?
So we have 8 single family long-term rentals.
Awesome. And then was it Etsy that helped you, kind of parlay that first investment into the next few, or how did you, save up to start jumping in and scaling up to 8?
So Etsy definitely helped with the first 2, but we were strategic in the way we buy properties, and we bought properties that had high appreciation for rent.
Yep.
So we were like the first house we bought, we still have, and it cash flows over $900 a month, just that one property. So being strategic on the properties we were buying would allow us to not have to buy up the entire city, but have a quality portfolio of a handful of select properties that would produce a high cash flow and be in high desirable areas. So we didn't need to, have an apartment complex, in other words, to make it work.
Yep. Do you feel like how are, obviously you have a coaching platform, which I want to talk about in a couple of minutes. How do you advise people, kind of in the new interest rate environment that we have now? How do you advise people on, obviously people want to get into this business, they want passive income, they see somebody like you who's been successful at it and they're like, I want that. Is the dream still alive, I guess, for people in a high interest rate environment?
Absolutely. I'm loving the high interest rates because it pushes a lot of people out onto the sidelines because they think high rates, I'm not going to buy. One thing people don't realize is when you're buying a property for an investment, so maybe something under $200,000 that would have the chance of cash flowing, if you buy down your rate up front, it's very inexpensive and may cost even less than a future refinance. So you can buy your rate down now in advance for less than the cost of a future refinance and guarantee a lower rate.
Interesting.
So that is a good strategy that a lot of my students use in getting the 6% interest rates on a $140,000 property instead of paying 7.5% or 8%.
Smart. If you buy the rate down, does that last for the whole term of the loan?
The whole 30 years. That is the beauty of a fixed rate loan. So you definitely want to get the best rate you can get, and within reason, right? There's a formula to figure out if it's worth it to buy the rate down or just wait. But you don't want to not buy properties because of interest rates. Sellers are also right now offering, even with the seller's market that we're in, I still have students that have sellers that are putting on brand new roofs, fixing major renovations, fixing drainage issues, and also paying towards closing costs, which will help you buy your rate down. You can use the seller's money to buy your rate down, and it won't even come out of your own pocket. So there's a lot of different ways you can get around higher interest rates.
So Casey, tell us about, your coaching platform and how, you're helping investors buy rental properties through that venue.
So real estate investing has literally changed my life. I mean, 9 years ago, I was a depressed mom, staying at home, not knowing my self-worth, and I had no validation. I went to school my whole life and went to college and was in leadership and class president of this and that, and involved in this and that, to just be a mom. Nothing wrong with that. I love my kids, but I knew I was meant for more. So having this outlet of buying rental properties allowed me to have my time. Right. I really spent hardly any time managing my rental properties, but yet I make a full-time income from just 8 of them. So I realized this, and it has given me just unbounded freedom, financial freedom, time freedom, and a high self-worth that I hadn't had in a long time. I brought it to the internet, brought it to social media to teach other moms how they too can have time freedom, financial freedom through real estate investing. And it just takes one. Just start with one, get the foundations laid, and you are off to the races and repeating the process over and over again.
That's awesome. So how would somebody find you? I see on the lower thirds there, Brick by Brick Wealth. Is that your website, or do people, what's your Instagram handle, and how do people find you?
Absolutely. So you can visit me on my website, brickbybrickwealth.com. And I'm also on social media. My two platforms I'm on are Instagram, Brick by Brick Wealth, and also YouTube, Brick by Brick Wealth. I put out a video every Thursday.
I love it. So Casey, I got a minute left, on the rental properties. Do you like long-term rentals or short-term rentals better? What's really kind of the strategy that you've taken on?
Long-term rentals all the way, because long-term rentals provide stable income. They are always going to be in demand. They will appreciate. The values rise with inflation, rents rise with inflation, and there's never going to be any surprises. It's the safest investment you can make. I'm a very low-risk person. My parents spent all their money. So that is not going to be me, and I teach security, safety, and safe investments.
Yeah. So as you're talking, kind of through that, do you find that most of the people that you're mentoring and are going through your coaching program are these folks, buying houses that are kind of middle America? Are they on the coasts? Where do you see people buying a lot of rental properties?
So if you're looking to cash flow, you'll be buying in middle America. So Middle America, or I will say some of the East Coast. Pennsylvania has some great options, and New York, but you have to be very careful about the landlord-tenant laws. So I always advise for students to choose states that have very strong landlord-friendly rules. So you wouldn't want to invest in a state that already hates you. You want your business to be profitable and worry-free. So that's one big tip. But Middle America is going to give you the best bang for your buck. Midwest, the Mid-South, the South, and some of the East Coast.
Love it. Casey, thanks for jumping on the show. It was fun to, have a 10-minute conversation with you. I wish it was a little bit longer, but we'll have you back on at some point in the future. So thanks for jumping on, and we're going to head to a commercial break. Everybody, we'll be right back in just a minute.
Do you have a car sitting around you want to get rid of? Well, here's a great idea. Donate your car now to help local veterans in your area. Yes, just make one fast call to the Veteran Car Donation Program. Within a few days, we'll come and remove your car for free. You can donate any car in any condition. We'll use our vast network to sell it. The proceeds raised go to help local veterans and their families. And you get a tax deduction. And all you need to do is make this free call. Clean your yard up, get rid of an old car, and help the vets. We make it easy. Make this free call now. Book your fast and easy pickup. Call the Veteran Car Donation Program now.
All right. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us on today's show. I just wanted to make a quick comment that I'd love for you to follow me on social media and reach out to me on social media. I'm at Andrew.Glisson on Instagram. And a lot of you guys that watch the show have friended me, followed me, and reached out and given us topics and introduced us to people who we've had as guests on the show. So we are always striving to find new people to bring onto the show, to bring in front of our audience. So if you guys know somebody or you want to be on the show, reach out, let me know, and we will be happy to start that dialogue together. So thanks again. I hope you guys have a great Thursday night, and we will see you next week at the same time, same place, Now Media TV at 5 o'clock Central. See you then.
This has been a Now Media Networks feature presentation. All rights reserved.
Have you ever had to hire multiple contractors? It is a daunting task that takes a lot of management time and impacts the core business or the company that time you're spent with your loved ones. At Texas Home Property Solutions, you can count on a responsible company that can tackle all your general contractor needs. Electricity, painting, remodeling, plumbing, air conditioning, and roofing. Hire us and forget it. With over 20 years of experience, Texas Home Property Solution will deliver your project on time and within budget, with the high level of quality and integrity, no matter the size or complexity. If you are a company, a government institution, or an individual who needs a general contractor, you need Texas Home Property Solution. Take a decisive step and call us today for a free consultation.